looks like we can rejoice somewhat now that the US ESRB rating for the game is in, and it's rated M for mature for a lot of the elements that we're seeking from a game nowadays. Stellar Blade has been in a lot of controversy over its looks and aesthetic appeal, attracting the male gaze, which is something that's prohibited in the Western video game industry. And of course, this is a game coming from Shift Up, a Korean developer that doesn't have to adhere to Western standards. And of course, it got so much praise from a fan base starving for anything with any beautiful women in it. And I think this is the one that's satiating all the charms and overall focus of a lot of game players that are waiting for some type of content like this. But we had apprehension because we heard about the developer was purchased, at least 20% stake was purchased from a Chinese company known as Tencent, who's known for its censorship standards in some of the games that it works on, at least in the releases in China. I think that was the thing that was drawing apprehension. I made a video about it, but now we have the ESRB rating coming out for the US release of the game, where it's saying it still has all these uncensored elements still in there, but there are still some questions about what elements are going to be in the game, because we know there's going to be violence, blood, gore, language, and things like that, but we don't see anything related to the attractive aesthetic of the game. People may say suggestive themes. I think that is probably the American standard for her revealing outfits and overall her aesthetic attractive beauty that we see in the game. And I think that is the element where I'm saying, okay, they didn't censor this game, has an M rating, so it's still appealing to the mass audience, and I think that is the case for the game. But when you look at the rating for the Korean version of this game, it mentions nudity and violence, but looking at the standards, the comparisons between the Korean and the American standards, you realize the Korean standard is a lot stricter, and that's why some of the covers and box elements for the game are less revealing than some of the contents inside the game, because they have to reach this standard in Korea, which has laws against anything with inappropriate, nude, and revealing clothing. And I think they have laws against a lot of elements that are legal in America, so their standards are a lot stricter. That's why they have to put these labels on the game, even though it may not have nudity or anything like that in the game. I think that is the case for its rating in Korea. So when we see the American rating, it's just has an American standard, where this is nothing in comparison to what we see in American society in general, where everything related to nudity is legal and a free-for-all. And I think that is the case where none of the content here reaches a standard where it has to be seen as excessive in any way. But I think in Korea, what we see as content here is pretty excessive, and I think that makes it even more interesting that Korea is breaking the mold within the video game industry, releasing something that is even difficult to create in their own country. And I think that is a surprising thing that a lot of people are realizing, like, whoa, we're getting this type of game that used to be made in America consistently, used to be made in Japan consistently, but now these two countries are putting a chokehold on the creation of content with aesthetically beautifying characters. And it takes a country that has more restrictive and prohibitive standards to break the mold. And it's surprising to see that happening in Korea first and foremost, because it's a very strict, very Christian country, surprisingly, if people don't know. So they have standards where you're not supposed to have revealing outfits and all that stuff online or anywhere else in entertainment space, unless it's for some very high artistic standards they have set. So this is a game that's breaking the mold everywhere, even in Korea itself, even in America, which is surprising because America used to set these standards and still has these very low standards when it comes to female nudity. It just seems like nowadays the people that hate female nudity all join the video game industry to erase female attractiveness and overall suggestive clothing from the video game industry, while permitting it everywhere else in the world. When it comes to subscription services, when it comes to social media, when it comes to Instagram, all nudity is allowed there, but not in video games for some reason. It just brings you back to the actual causes for this restrictive personalities that have been entering the space, and they have more than just a dislike for the video games, just maybe a dislike for the people that actually like playing these sort of video games. They dislike their overall enjoyment of these games. And it's surprising to see that standard rise to the top within the industry that made its money on creating content that mostly a customer base, a male serving customer base mostly enjoyed. And it is funny to see that actually be achieved by a country where they have more restrictive standards, but they're doing something most Western studios will deem impossible nowadays, even though there's a lot of money that can come from it. And Stellar Blade is proving that every day with high pre-order rates, high attention, traffic coming in all the time on all their topics. And I think that's probably going to service the industry in a positive way, where people are going to see this game and think, okay, making something like this is more than profitable, more than capable of bringing in an audience. And I think nowadays studios have been convinced by, I think, ill actors or prohibitive actors that are trying to scare them away from making this content. And I think you have these people like Sweet Baby Inc. and the consultancy firms that are telling them that this will lose you money if you make something that appeals to the male gaze. And Shift Up, this Korean-based developer, is proving all of them wrong, saying if you make this, everyone will come and buy your game, even if it just looks like a generic hack and slash game. I think in some parts it has that basics, the type of Bayonetta type of attack style that we see sometimes. So maybe it'll be more than that, but even then people are still interested in the game because it's doing something every single Western developer is scared to do. And I think that is the key and core crux of the situation with Stellar Blade. It's not scared, and I think people are waiting for a video game developer that is not scared to go against the trend. And that is the main thing with any popular item that gains attraction with a younger fan base. It's something that goes against the trend of things, which is to be restrictive, which is to be prohibitive against attractiveness, against beauty. And I think doing something beautiful is now the most revolutionary thing you can do now in any industry right now. Just look at Hollywood and entertainment. People are going crazy over Sydney Sweeney, and she's just standing there being beautiful. And that's all you need to do to attract attention nowadays, because beauty has been denigrated and downgraded in all elements and all of its formats, and people are starving for it because they're just tired of seeing ugliness in the aesthetics, ugliness in the characters, ugliness in the stories, ugliness in the overall direction of content. And people want to see beauty again. I think that's what Dune 2, just the overall aesthetic and look of the movie, it's beautiful, and people are enjoying it because of its beauty. People are enjoying actors because of their beauty, and I think that is the way to make money in the future for the next decade or so, because it's been so maligned and mishandled, that aesthetic. So that's just my case in point. That's what I think about the situation, but you tell me what you think about Stellar Blade maybe not being censored for the US. And I think that is the case. I think suggestive themes are what people in America would see as the revealing costume that she's wearing usually in these games. So I don't think there's going to be censorship for the American version. We have to always be worried about patch updates. We saw that with Final Fantasy VII, but I don't think that's going to be the case with this game. I don't think there's going to be too much patch updates, but we always have to be cognizant of that. So maybe get a physical copy if you can, and don't update it. That might be the main thing. And of course, there's going to be a PC version for everyone waiting for the modders. I know the modders are salivating at this, so if there's a PC version, there's nothing they can do about patch updating anything. But that's just my 2 cents of the situation. You leave your comments, tell me what you think about this. Stellar Blade uncensored, most likely for the US. I'm excited for it. I already got my pre-order. I'm gonna play it probably online. Hopefully you watch me play it, and I'll see you soon. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.